So Don, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is almost out on the Nintendo Switch, but you and I have both been getting extra funky the past couple of weeks
Yeah.
as we've been playing the game for review. In fact, our reviews went up just yesterday, or maybe 2 days ago by the time people hear this review, and we both loved it. You gave it a 9 on Nintendo World Report, and I said I loved it in our review. So I wanted to get together though and dive a little bit deeper and just talk about how the game holds up, what we like about the new version, like what improvements they made, and also if we think it's worth a $60 price point. So let's get to it. Don, did you find Tropical Freeze still held up 4 years later on Nintendo Switch?
I think it was even better than on Wii U, if I'm being completely honest with you.
How so? Because it's pretty much the same game.
I didn't feel it was tailored enough to Wii U. As far as the optimization for Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze was concerned, it wasn't really there. Because if you played it on the gamepad, it would be black on the TV, and it would be also vice versa. If you played it on the television, it would be black on the gamepad.
That was weird.
I think it's so much better tailored to Switch, because you can play it in handheld mode and take it anywhere with you. And then play it locally with a friend. Or you can just dock it and play it now in 1080p on a television.
Right. And it looks great on the TV, right? Like, I mean, it looked great on Wii U, but having it in 1080p, I mean, it's a subtle improvement, but you can tell, like, it looks super sharp now.
Yeah, there were also some very harsh frame rate issues during the loading sequences. Those aren't there anymore.
Yeah, load times in general have been improved. Like, it used to stutter all the time. There's still a little bit of stuttering when it loads, but beyond that, it's so much quicker now, which is nice. Because even though I never found the load times to impact my enjoyment that much on the Wii U, they were noticeable. And I have to admit, whenever I wanted to switch levels, like go back and like look for hidden objects somewhere or collectibles, it was kind of a drag waiting, sometimes I think 40 seconds for a level to load, or upwards of 40 seconds. Whereas now I think it's like 10 seconds at most, or around there.
Yeah.
So I guess to take a broader look at the game real quick, did you enjoy it as much your first or your second time through as you did your first time through on the Wii U?
Honestly, I think I enjoyed it a little bit better because it just felt made for this platform. Like, it felt way more fit to be on this platform because, once again, handheld mode and TV mode. That being said, the second run through, like the first run through, was harder because I didn't know what to expect. So you lose that magic in the process, but I still think that there are plenty of people who have never played this game before, so that's not really a knock against it. And for me, the second run was interesting because for that second run, I solely played as Funky Kong. I had a couple of rounds where I just played as Donkey Kong with a friend who played in another, or he played Funky Kong and I just played as another Kong. But the majority of that run was playing as Funky Kong.
Interesting. Yeah, I want to talk to you more about that, because when I played the game again, I actually played it again entirely as Donkey Kong, because that's how I played it originally and how the game was made originally. I'm like, I want to try that again, and I still loved it. And then I played through maybe a little under half the game as Funky Kong, a third time to see how that stacked up.
The way that you approach levels is so much different between the regular Kongs and Funky Kong, because he can do so many different things and in so many different areas.
Right.
A good example is how he can like glide and double jump and do moves that are endless, which allows the levels to be easier, but it also focuses a lot more on momentum.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's kind of fun. Like, it's actually really fun just to roll and storm through everything, like without worrying about. You can't just mindlessly play, but it does allow you to do things that you couldn't do as other Kongs, obviously. And it is kind of fun to see how much you can exploit that. Like, how fast can you roll through these things or jump over these things? Because Funky Kong, like with his double jump, which is absurd by the way and hilarious, he can leap over platforms or he can skip entire platforms that Donkey Kong would have had to use to reach areas earlier, whereas Funky Kong can just like jump up, buildings essentially. And it does feel really good upon replay to just kind of tear through these levels in a whole new way.
Yeah, I think the flow of the levels become very different depending on how you play. Because with the regular Kongs, there's more considered platforming and a lot more challenge in mind. With Funky Kong, it's less challenging, sure, but once again, like I said, it's more about momentum and how you use these tools to get the best run possible in a level.
And I like how it separates the leaderboards too, from, with Funky Kong from Donkey Kong. Otherwise, it would just be all Funky Kong. This poor Donkey Kong doesn't stand a chance to keep up with Funky Kong.
No, I think this is honestly a really smart thing, because it will create people who are still interested in the original game,
right,
the original experience, and how they can do it. But it also creates a new time attack ballpark filled with very interesting Funky Kong runs, which you can just watch online. Because basically, once it's uploaded, you can rewatch a replay and see how the person did it. And then you can take that to heart and try it yourself.
Right. However, for as much fun as I found Funky Kong to be, I enjoy. I feel like no matter who you're playing as in Tropical Freeze, you're gonna have a good time because the level design is so good. It wouldn't matter who you're playing as. Right. So for people who are playing it for the first time, maybe it's a little bit ironic actually. Because Funky Kong obviously is, they kind of built it as an easy mode, right? It's what he gets more hearts, he can breathe underwater, he can move in ridiculous ways, and plus you get other benefits too in Funky mode, like being able to use items mid-level and all that, which you can also switch to Donkey Kong and take advantage of that stuff too. But as Funky Kong, for as easy as it is, I still recommend people at least try playing it as Donkey Kong first, because I do think with the way the levels are designed, which are just simply brilliant, like the level design is so perfect in this game, that I do feel like it's kind of a shame almost to enjoy them the first time as Funky Kong.
I honestly think that, once again, regardless of how you play, it's fantastic. I do think that people should play original mode first, just to see what the game is intended to be. And I know people will say it's a really harsh challenge, and it is, don't get me wrong, it absolutely is. And there won't be moments where you just want to throw that controller away, or just throw your Joy-Cons on the floor, I guess in this instance. But I think I'm not the greatest at 2D platformers, and I got through it. I struggled a lot with the original game, but I got through it, and really enjoyed myself doing it, because it forced me to multitask in a new way, especially when you, for example, combine Cranky and Dixie together with Donkey Kong. You really need to know what you're doing at that specific moment.
Right.
I think that's incredible to behold. I think that makes the game oh so special, and it's something you need to see to be believed. That being said, if you are not that skilled in 2D platformers, you're not really happy about your skill level, I could still suggest that you go into Funky mode, but then still play as Donkey Kong, because you still get additional perks that make the experience easier.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. It's kind of cool that they allowed that option, where you can play as Donkey Kong and still use items mid-level and get extra hearts. So it is like just an easy mode at that point, and I would recommend trying that first before going to Funky mode if you are having a tough time with the game.
Yeah, like if you're feeling like heartbroken after, say, the first two worlds, maybe go to Funky mode but still play as Donkey Kong.
Yeah. There is one thing that, this is a super small nitpick. It does annoy me a little bit that Funky mode is literally the first thing when you turn on the game. Like, it gives you the option of Funky mode and original mode. Funky mode is not only the default, but it's literally the only thing you see. If you want to see original mode, you have to page over to original mode, and I wish they had done it a little bit differently, because it makes the original mode feel like, a side project or whatever, like a side mode or whatever. Well, no, that should be the main mode still. Like, that's the original game right there.
No, I absolutely agree with that. Or just put them side to side in one screen and see the benefits at the left and right side with a little text box. So you know, this is what you get in regular mode, this is what you get in Funky mode. So at least that people can choose and have the option there immediately to see what is best for them.
Right.
Because there will definitely be people who are more fit for Funky mode, and definitely more people who are more fit for original mode. Yep. Those will always be present. And I think that now that both modes are included, it makes for an experience that most people can enjoy now.
Yeah.
Which, regardless of your platforming skill level, that's a good thing.
So one thing that surprised me, though, replaying the game is, again, I love the original game. I think it might be my favorite game on Wii U. And playing it again, I was a little bit worried, whenever you revisit something, it's like, well, I played it before, is it going to have the same magic it did the first time? And in this case, I think it absolutely did, because while I remembered a fair amount of what happened, like of the levels, there's also a lot I forgot, because there is literally every level in this game is almost completely unique. Whether from a thematic standpoint, a mechanic standpoint, or a design standpoint, there is so much going on in this game. There were entire levels I didn't even remember. I mean, once I saw them, I'd have some memory of it. But I'm like, oh right, this level, this is awesome. And I was just continually impressed by, like, now that I'm being able to revisit it, I was able to better appreciate what made this game so great in the first place, which is just pretty much everything about it. Like, the level design is so good here. It's just so creative. Like, I've never seen levels this creative in a platformer, and I said in my own review, like, if they release another new Super Mario Brothers game, I mean, I don't know how they could release another new Super Mario Brothers game after Tropical Freeze, because Tropical Freeze literally stomps all over those games in terms of creativity.
For me, it's funny because the Wii U period had some really good platforming games, and you had like Rayman Legends, you had Yoshi's Woolly World, and Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, and then you look at New Super Mario Brothers, and it just pales to comparison to all of the others, which is the funniest part to me.
Yeah.
For me, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze and Woolly World are the two platformers that I sincerely enjoyed on Wii U.
Yeah.
So I kind of hope that maybe comes over one day, but now we already have a new Yoshi game, so maybe not.
Yeah, that's true, and I know people want 3D World on there too, so there's definitely some more ports Nintendo could pull out if they really want to.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there is one big question here, Don, and so obviously we both love this game. We both enjoyed it very much a second time still. We still loved it just as much a second time.
I mean, like you said, like every level in that game is incredible.
Yeah,
like
that's nuts.
There's an endless creativity there in the level design that I so much appreciate in this game.
Exactly. So here's my question to you. Is it worth $60 on Nintendo Switch? Because when it launched on the Wii U, it was only $50, and that's since dropped to $20. So do you think it's worth paying 3 times that to pick it up on the Switch?
Honestly, if you already played it on Wii U, there's no necessarily a reason for you to play it again. But honestly, you're not gonna buy a Wii U in 2018.
Right.
Let me be very frank with that.
I don't even know if you can.
I mean, I'm sure you technically can somewhere, but that somewhere is definitely not places I know.
Right.
But if you still want to buy the game, the Switch version will likely be your only option. And in my mind, the game exceeds the price. Like, the game is first and foremost the most important factor in any conversation. And I think the game is absolutely fantastic. Like, people should absolutely play it. If you're not confident in the price, which I can see, there's definitely some shadiness there, then I would wait for maybe a price cut or the rare opportunity where maybe Nintendo will offer it at a discount price.
A rare opportunity? I think you mean a retro opportunity.
Ha 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 ha. You're so funny with your puns. But yeah, honestly, I don't know what to say in this specific instance. Like, it really comes down to the person. But at the end of the day, would I be disappointed if I bought this game for Switch, which is slightly more expensive than it originally was? No, because this is still a fantastic game. It feels more optimized for Nintendo Switch.
I pretty much agree with all of that. Like, I said in my review, would I recommend this to people who play the Wii U one and still own the Wii U one? Probably not, because it really is very much the same game. There are improvements, it's been better optimized, you have Funky Kong now. But if you're just if you're just looking for the main game, that is pretty much identical. So yeah, it's hard to justify paying $60 for a second version of the game you already own, even if it is slightly better. At the same time, I am such a Tropical Freeze fan. Had I not got it from Nintendo, I probably would have bought it again, even if just to enjoy those marginal improvements. With that said, I still wouldn't recommend it because you probably can just play the Wii U one and get the full experience. I mean, you can just play the Wii U one and get most of that exact same experience. However, beyond that, about the $60 price point specifically, because a lot of people seem really upset about this, with it being more than the Wii U one, not just currently, but as I mentioned, even when the Wii U one came out. You know what? my response to that is, you can still buy the Wii U one. You can still go. I mean, granted, putting aside Nintendo's shadiness and pulling it from the Wii U eShop, but you can still buy the physical version of the Wii U one if you want. It's still available. Go pick that up if it's really that big of a deal. If it's that big of a problem. Otherwise, I think Tropical Freeze, as you kind of touched on, absolutely earns the $60 price point. I mean, I think it would have earned that $60 price point on the Wii U. So, I mean, we were lucky Nintendo decided to charge $50 for it back then. I think it's absolutely worth $60 now, though. And the fact that it exists elsewhere for $20 doesn't change that fact. If you want a $20 one, go buy that. If you want it on Switch, it's worth the $60.
Yeah. At the same time, I would question why you would still buy a Wii U game in 2018.
I mean, if you have a Wii U and you want, if you want to be, if you want to save money,
you're not going to buy specifically a Wii U to play a $20 version of a game that's $60 on Nintendo Switch.
Probably not. Yeah, that wouldn't be a great investment, probably. One final question for you, Don, since we've already covered how much we love this game, obviously, and it's the same game, so not too much to cover about it. But my question to you is, do you want to see a third one? Because I remember when Donkey Kong Country Returns came out, a lot of people really loved that game. Like, it scored well. Maybe not. I don't think it had quite the love Tropical Freeze had now, but people still really enjoyed that game. And when Tropical Freeze was announced, a lot of people were disappointed. Like, why are they making another Donkey Kong game? Like, why not Metroid or something else? And then Tropical Freeze came out. And I think a lot of people realized, like, they ate those words. Like, oh my god, this game's amazing. So my question to you is, do you want to see a third one, and what would you think if it ended up being Retro making it? Regardless of what we may have heard or know, if Retro ended up making a third one of this as their next game, what would you think about that?
I would be totally fine with that. My only gripe is that they finally need to include more animal friends.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Like, it has been long overdue. Like, Rambi is the only animal friend in this game. And I know that, once again, the levels in this game are endlessly creative. Like, the Rocket Barrel and the Minecraft levels and even the underwater levels are really fun. Like, every level in this game is super fun. But I still miss the animal friends so much. And I feel that even Rambi is super underutilized in this game.
He's only in, I feel like he's only in, granted, I didn't play through every level in my replay because, I didn't get all the secret levels. But I only saw him like 3 levels, I think. So, going through the main game. Yeah. So, on the one hand, like, I kind of agree. Like, I think it'd be cool to have more animal buddies there. On the other hand, it's something I only really think about after I beat the game, because there's so much else going on in the game. Like, I didn't really miss it while playing it. But I do agree. Like, if they made a third game, it's time to bring back, like, I guess On Guard or the Ostrich, Espresso, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe Winky the Frog. I think part of the reason why it may not stand out to me quite as much is because you already have the different Kongs too, which already kind of, act as animal buddies in a way, but they all have their own mechanics. But yeah, I agree. I would love to see more of those. Also, something else I would love to see is even more 3D segments. This Tropical Freeze is a cool, like, really neat segments where the camera, like, go behind your vehicle, like the mine car,
like
the rocket barrel.
Like the rocket barrel level in the factory area.
Yeah, exactly. When that happened, I actually forgot that happened. I'm like, oh man, this is really cool. And I wish they had done a little bit more. I would love to see even more of that because it's implemented so well. Like, it's something that looks like it could be a gimmick, but Retro pulled it off, and I would love to see even more. I'd love to see them explore that even more in a subsequent game.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you overall. Like, if there was another Donkey Kong game, and if it's to what Tropical Freeze is, what Tropical Freeze was to Donkey Kong Country Returns, sign me the hell up. Tropical Freeze is already amazing. If they can make another game that's just big an improvement over Tropical Freeze, as Tropical Freeze was over its predecessor, god man, that'd be amazing. So,
I would be 100% down for that for sure.
Heck yeah. Well, Don, any final thoughts you want to bring up before we wrap it up here, or do we cover it pretty well?
I think the experience is unmatched by most of the platformers.
The music too, by the way, so good.
Especially on the water music. Once again,
yep,
so good.
I don't know if sorry, real quick, you didn't watch my review, but I spent almost a full minute just playing the underwater music track by itself.
I believe that for sure. But also the various worlds really are very well planted. Like, my favorite world in the entire game is likely Autumn Heights.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Autumn Heights has some of my favorite levels. And fair enough, one of the levels I speedrunned for that video was Autumn Heights, and my second pick was also an Autumn Heights level. So it's no surprise there. But yeah, one of them ended up making that video, and I'm really proud of it. Like, I spent like 1.5 hour just doing runs of that particular level.
No, that speedrun was fantastic. It did a great job, and it showcased like how much Funky it does add to the speedrunning game. Because it is fun to go through these levels, like just kind of tear through them, and then because the sense of momentum in this game feels so good overall, and it really complements Funky's moveset, I feel like. Yeah, so I can see, like, I had fun, like, when I was doing the live stream yesterday, I had fun just, like, going through the levels as quickly as possible to showcase how Funky does work in speedrunning, which is something I didn't do too much in Tropical Freeze originally, so it does kind of add, like, a slightly new angle to the game than what it offered before.
Yeah, and the endless running and the more freedom to jump at your specific timing allowed for speedruns to click as much, because I did a pretty interesting level where you have a lot of movements over leaves and what have you.
Right.
But you could still immediately land, do a roll, and then jump further, which felt extremely nice to do. And I think that could be very interesting to see how that is applied to every single level in this game.
Yeah.
Like, if maybe not this HDQ, but the next one would have that run, I would be so down, no matter what the time, just watch it all the way through, because I just want to see what that specific person does.
Right, exactly. Well, I think that's it, right, Don? Did we cover everything?
I think we covered everything.
Alright, well with that, thank you guys so much for watching. Don, if people want to get more of your thoughts on, say, Twitter, where do they follow you at?
Or you want to see tweets? Well, you can find them at Nintendan, which is NINTNDAAN.
And there'll be a link to that in the description below, as well as to my own Twitter at Andre Seegers, where you can see lots of my stupid tweets. And with that, thanks for watching. Of course, stay tuned to GameXplain for lots more, maybe on Tropical Freeze, but lots more on everything Nintendo as well. Catch you later. Bye.